Some fun.
Camera's got quite a delay.
Do what now?
The camera's got quite a delay.
Oh.
All right.
You know what you should put over here? What? Sink. A sink. Do you wash your hands from or?
No, so they can get the water for the coffee because they have to get it out of the toilet. It's kind of gross. When you think about it. I'm like, you gotta get your water out of the damn toilet. I know it's not physically out of the toilet, but it's kind of gross. And then there's nowhere to wash your coffee from. I don't know. There's enough, big enough drain right there. I would think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I don't know.
This is $10.
You get it today. You would get it today. Tugger, how's my boy guy doing? Huh? How's the guy doing? You healing up on? Yeah. Yeah,
No problem with that.
he's doing pretty good.
Gary.
I think, hopefully here in the next couple weeks, we'll come back.
I mean,
hit her head. I will say this, she hit her head pretty good on the door.
Oh, no.
But when she called you, when I showed up to the accident, I was expecting to see her bleeding out.
Yeah,
The way she was talking on the phone.
Yeah.
And I get there, and she got a knot on the side of her head, but it's not like,
Right.
I'm like, Margaret, it's going to be all right. Like,
Did it total her car?
I don't know. The body shop thinks they can fix it. We'll see. I don't know. It looks pretty beat up to me, but we'll see.
So you're on plane today?
Yeah, we filed that claim, yeah. And then the poor guy she hit, Hispanic fella, I think he thought I was trying to like give him the runaround or something. I said, look, dude, I'm not trying to say it's your fault. I'm not trying to say it's her fault. I wasn't here. I don't know. We're going to get the cops here. We're going to let the cops determine because I don't want to get into it with my in-laws that somehow I said it's your fault or her fault. Like, we're going to let the cops determine that thing.
You're like, it's my mother-in-law. Do I need to say
Yeah,
anything else?
yeah.
Like,
Yeah. And
we'll stop here.
yeah. And so, yeah. They determined it was her fault, which after getting there and kind of putting the pieces together, I was like, yeah, this is her fault.
Well, dang.
But the poor guy had just gotten his truck. Now, it wasn't anything fancy. It was like a 95 Dodge. What do they call it? Smaller Dodge Dakotas, I think.
Code, yeah.
Like a 95 Dakota probably. And,
It's still in a pretty tough, truck's pretty tough thing.
yeah, yeah. But he had just gotten it, and he didn't have any insurance. So even though it wasn't his fault,
Still.
he'll get paid for the damage to his vehicle, but he got issued a ticket for no insurance. So I was like,
Yeah.
that stinks. So.
That's rough.
Hello there.
But I do think I found a new commercial lines account manager.
Yay. Wow.
I
Good.
got it. So
On to the next.
this is like complete luck. So Kim that works for me was friends with this girl's mom, and she works for Hefner right now.
Yeah.
Tyler.
Okay.
And already doing commercial line stuff, runs their social media stuff, does all the commercial line stuff, and does group health.
Okay.
So she can take over the group health, she can take
Yeah.
over commercial, she can take over social media.
Is she gonna drive over?
They're moving this way already. So her husband got a job that he can work remotely now. I guess he was working in an office
Yeah.
over there, and now he can work remotely. Both their families are from this area, and she's pregnant with the third one.
I'm in the Lulu's.
Trying to hire.
Yeah.
She's like, do you know anybody? No. Do you know anybody? No.
Yeah, he texted me and was like, hey, any other candidates from your search? I was like, not really. Here's one like that was okay. And then like 20 minutes later, I was like, Matt, what did you do? Did you put on me? Like when our commercial persons took another job, so now we're back in the.
Yeah, they hired somebody and he lasted, what, 24 hours?
Not even 8 hours. So apparently him and his fiance both have these major health issues, and she apparently was like, you don't have a large like health plan, no, we're out, you're done. And so he just withdrew his acceptance. And he was like, Mary, you'll like this, he said, hey, you don't have to pay me for that day. I was like, oh, I wasn't. Like, you are not getting paid for that day. There's not a chance.
Yeah.
You would have
I
taken
told her
it
today
for-
when I interviewed her and I was looking at her resume, I said, okay, so you already have experience in this.
Yeah.
You handle the social media, you can handle the group health. I said, you don't have to speak Spanish, do you? She's like, no. I was like, that's pretty much the only other thing I can
Yeah.
dream about getting for a candidate
Yeah,
in your
no kidding.
position. If you could have done that, it'd been the full package.
They looking for a unicorn.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly. She's finishing up her finance degree at UT Tyler, so I don't know how long I'll be able to hold on to her, because she said originally she was going to school to be a teacher.
Yeah, I always feel like we should be able to get more teachers, because like you can have bathroom breaks.
I try not to steal from our staff. You got all the numbers figured out over there?
Well, what we know, this is the meeting, we don't know a whole lot yet.
Steve, you're doing good.
Oh, I know, right? I got here, what I thought was on time, and I was here early. Nobody here yet. Oh, shoot, no, I didn't even do that. No, I didn't even do that. Oh, no.
Change your mind.
How are y'all doing this evening? Good. Thank y'all for coming. I'm going to start off, this is, of course, our first one for the summer, our first budget workshop for the summer. We're going to be focusing primarily on what we know about revenues. We know about the laws and everything because this is the second year of the biennium, but as you'll remember each year, we won't have our certified values from our HCAD until the end of July. So we have preliminary, so we've got estimates to go on, but a lot, I will have all of those estimates and assumptions highlighted throughout. So as we come back through the summer, we'll be looking at how those have changed or how they've been adjusted based on the actuals that have come through. So let's see, that's just my cover sheet. All right, first, and also I just want to go over things that we do know that will affect some of our expenditure budgets, which we'll get farther into in July. But this is related to some things that you'll want to consider with the compensation package for the 26-27 year. We received our TRS Active Care rates for the coming year. And if you'll remember last year, I've got 24-25 and 25-26 up there. We raised our contribution, district contribution, from $350 to $428 in this current year. So a pretty substantial increase, so that at least on that primary employee-only plan, they would have $100 that they would have to cover, and the district covered the rest of the contribution on their behalf. As you'll see for the 26-27 rates, looking at that primary plan, the rate will go up to $144 if we were assuming we would keep the $428 contribution. So I just wanted y'all to have that information. The primary plus, that same category for employees only, went up $52. So, and then the Active Care HD, $45. So anywhere from $44 to $52 a month year-over-year increase, which I felt like was pretty substantial, more than we've seen just for a year-to-year comparison. So you'll see I've got a 3-year increase column on the far right, so you'll just have how it relates from our 24-25 contributions. Just wanted you to have this information. At the bottom, we have, I confirmed with Ms. Patty Morgan today, we have currently 490 participants in the plan, so that's over half of our employee base. So it does affect a large, pretty good majority of our employees. At an estimated cost for the year of this current year, $2.5 million, which we know that cost an additional, last year that estimate was about $1.9 million. So we invested a good $500,000 this year already in 25-26. So this is a recurring cost that will roll next year, depending on what y'all want to do. If you want to make any changes, this is for your information. If you have any questions or suggestions, please let us know. I can run these through scenarios and incorporate them as we get farther into the summer in our projections for our compensation plan. Any questions on that before I move to the next one? Okay. This is a slide. Last year I had about 5,000 slides about everything new that was going to go into effect in 25-26. This one is the only thing, the major piece of funding that will take effect for this year that was passed by the last legislative session is it's a complete overhaul of our special education funding. Instead of going from a contact hours situation of funding, it's going to intensity of services model. So TEA is still working to get all of these released and data released to all of our SPED programs of how this is all going to work. But we do know that it should ensure an increase in funding, but that increase statewide is capped at $250 million. So it's going to be a lot of intensive work on the behalf of our special ed departments in getting data. I want to say it's even before Snapshot they have to have this uploaded. I could be wrong on the dates. A lot of data uploaded to TEA for them to start projecting out for the cash flow of this for the year. For this one, yes, and yes. And it may be ongoing for some of the things they'll have to. Yeah, and they may already, I don't know if Ms. Collins and Jill and the PEMS department already have a plan for that. But I mean, it's well publicized, those timelines. But this is, for the purposes of tonight's budget workshop, I assumed funding the same as last year, same funding stream, because we don't have all the details. But we can know that it will be more. So that's at least a good thing. They're not cutting funding based on this new funding model. But I just wanted to give y'all information about that, because that will be different, and we'll kind of see how that rolls out throughout the year, because sometimes we don't get answers until halfway through the year on things. So we'll move into some of our taxable values and our histories and how things compare year to year. At the end of April, each year, we receive our preliminary taxable values. We received that from Mr. Flowers over at HCAD, and this year's prelims, you'll see this last line here, came in at $3,863,000 and some change, hundreds of thousands of change, which was a substantial increase over even our certified values from last year. It was over $500 million more in taxable value. I did reach out to him to ask if he knew just specifically if there was one category that he saw bigger increases in. I didn't hear back any specifics on that. I'll continue to see if I can get some more information from him as we go through the summer. Of course, we'll get certified values on July 25th. I believe that's a Saturday, so maybe a day before that. So I just have our preliminary estimate in for now. You'll see that our prelim to certified, it fluctuates year to year. So because there was already such a large increase from our certifieds, I just left that as a placeholder for now on our taxable column. That alone, though, would be a year-over-year certified increase of almost 16.5%, which anything with HB3 that kicked in back in 2019, any growth year-over-year more of 2.5% or more will trigger more compression. So we'll see that, that happening here in these calculations as well. So that M&O tax rate, you'll see this here in this column for M&O tax. Last year, for 25-26, we've had 68.22 cents of $100 for every $100 of taxable value. That's made up of Tier 1 M&O rate, which is 63.22, with a 5-cent Tier 2 golden penny rate. And then this year, with that compression and the statutory compression that was already built into the law, it will, of course, this isn't certified by TEA yet until August after we get certified values, but most likely that will take us down to 66.36. So that's a 1.86 cent decrease in in tax rates based on this preliminary value. So as we get more information, this is what I'm talking about. A lot of things hang on these numbers that are still estimates, but as these become more firm, after we get the certified values in July, we'll then turn those into TEA. They certify it like the next week. So before we approve a budget and tax rate, we'll have a certified M&O Tier 1 rate from TEA at that time. So this is kind of this is a work in progress slide based on our timeline. But you will see down here in the far right column, it would be a 24.78% tax rate decrease over the last just 5 years, which is substantial. A lot of that is because of that HB3 tax compression that the legislature imposed, as well as we've reduced our INS tax rate during that time as well, based on our TIVA participation and funding revenues. So we'll look and see where that goes. Any questions on that? Anything I can explain or talk about further on that as we go? We'll revisit this, obviously, too. This slide, I always want to look at where our ADA for all of our grade levels. This is brick and mortar only on this slide. And so for 25-26, we budgeted 4,452, so about 4,450. Our actuals were 4,416.572. So we were close, but still a little bit lower than where we had projected. We came in, our attendance rate was 94.74, which is still well below what it used to be. I think we were always above 96%, just consistently. And since 2021, probably we've never recovered from there. Last year, it is an increase. Last year, I think in 24-25, we're 94.6. So we're slightly higher, but we're just still kind of hanging in that 94.5% range. So as I matriculated these up through the grades to project for 26-27, I kept that 94.5% attendance percentage. I would love to hope and think that we'll outdo that in 26-27, but based on the trend so far, I'm not seeing the data to not just go with this for a conservative estimate as well on our revenues for sure. Let's see. But one thing to say about that, with our new funding model that went into effect in 25-26 for TIVA and the virtual funding model, they used to be funded on course completions. 25-26 is the first year that their full ADA is reported all throughout the year at 100%. And so we get that number at the end of the year, and then they're taking the brick and mortar, TEA will take the brick and mortar attendance rate to apply to their ADA because theirs comes in at 100%. So that's how they get some kind of a refined ADA number. So the better, these are ways that I know TEA is not intending for us to link our virtual and our brick and mortar together with revenues attached, different types of revenues attached, but unfortunately, our brick and mortar attendance will now affect, and now already affects, how our virtual is funded. Any questions about that? Oh, I didn't say what I'm going to. So projections in this, for tonight, I'm using 4,385.958 as our brick and mortar ADA estimates. So I don't think that number will change unless there's no data that would come along that would change that, I don't think. So that's a baked-in number at this point. This slide here, this is just kind of a look at 25-26 very quickly at the items that I've used the slide for the last several years to try to see where we are on some of the major pieces of funding that relate specifically and only to brick and mortar and our revenues and our operational revenues. So the big pieces obviously are where our state funding is. So the top two lines there are our foundation school program funding and our available school funding, as well as our TIVA oversight fee, which is 8% for 25-26, and our interest earnings, which we know that for the last several years we have conservatively budgeted that item to kind of build in a surplus place in our budget. So our FSP, with our new funding model this year, we had quite a few new allotments. We budgeted $20.496 million, and our actuals will be $19.462 million, so that's a difference of just a little over $1 million. Our SFE offsets some of that with our budget coming in about $300,000 more. So those two, just some unknowns with the new funding affected that, and our attendance percentage as well. Let's see, our TIVA oversight fee, we used to very, very much conservatively budget this line. I think we used to only include about $4 million. We were seemingly stockpiling fund balance because of that, and we needed to use some of that for projects and things that we needed to. But we still didn't want to go all in on this line, so I still conservatively budget this line because this does affect our brick and mortar budget. So for purposes of this line, we had only budgeted a little over $16 million, which was our payroll reimbursement from Stride K-12, as well as we had budgeted, let's see if I have that in there, about $14 million for the actual oversight, which was based on 82.5% of 16.5 last year. And so this year, if there is an increase in an enrollment cap, which I know that there will be conversations about that there always is every year. I think at this point it's slotted to go to 27.5. I don't know if that's at this point in the year. I don't know if that's been approved by y'all, but I budgeted for 19,387.5 ADA, which is 82.5% of the current 24,500. So based on that, it does increase what our oversight revenues will be with our payroll reimbursement, which is $19,575,000, but it's still conservative and not 100% of what will likely happen, which is where we've wanted to kind of stay away from. We can always change our methodology and want to go more conservative. We can certainly do that, but that's kind of where I am on this, is I'm trying to keep a reserve here. So you'll see in 25-26 that we will end up with $3.5 million more in oversight fee than we budgeted. So that's a significant piece of this bottom line number. Our interest, we budgeted $2 million, and we will most likely be a little bit more than 5 million by the end of August. So that, all of those changes added together, total $5.8 million. We don't, and for this slide's purposes, I assume that all of our expenses are gonna spend out at 100%. And if that's the case, for this slide's purposes, we would add 5.8 to fund balance more than we would have. So like we all know that we approved a deficit budget for 25-26, so it would reduce what that deficit budget actually would have been. So if that makes sense. I don't feel like I said that very well. Yes, sir. Reduce the fund balance. If I use the 20, which year? It will most likely go up. Of course, that's next year. This year's was 24.5. I think I got a little mixed up when I was explaining that. But 24.5 was the cap for this 25-26 year, which is what this was based off of. And we just used.
So prior to the state funding model, the state commercial and all that, just the attendance. So what they funded off of, now put that over, she can say, they put that over to take all these kids, putting them, we said 9.45, which is what our recommendation.
Right, and that's on the virtual revenue line, which this is our oversight, this is local funds, like local revenues for our oversight. So we're applying a more conservative calculation so that we don't budget something on brick and mortar, and then if it doesn't come in, if we budgeted 100% of what it needed, and then we've messed up our brick and mortar side. So we try to be conservative on that side to hedge on that. Any questions on that? Of course, next month when I have all the expenditure estimates on there too, we'll see more how this plays in. At the bottom, I have a calculation usually. So the next three lines, and I'm trying to be very cognizant of Mr. Tucker's time, so I've told them at 6 o'clock if I'm up here talking, y'all tell me to sit down. So anyway, so the next 3 pages are our general fund budget. The first page is local revenues, second page state revenues, and the third page federal revenues, how they're accounted for separately. I'm going to highlight some of the primary areas. Some of these, there are no changes proposed. I'm not going to go over those tonight. And I've tried to provide extensive explanations for you on those so that you still have the explanation. So our property values, this is comparing to our current 25-26 budget and what we're proposing for the new 26-27 year budget. Our property tax is current. This is also playing in where that big increase in our preliminary values comes in. Because if you have higher preliminary values against, even if it's a little bit lower tax rate, you may still have more tax revenue. Generally, it's not 100% this way. Generally, if you have to think about the full glass, where your local revenues, your tax collections fill up, the state funding fills up the glass. Recapture districts are the ones that overflows. So in this case, if our property taxes go up, even this almost $3 million compared to 25-26, we should see an increase in our state revenues as well. So you'll see that on the next page as well. So, but that is because we've got a sizable increase in our preliminary taxable values, like a 16.5% compared to last year. So that's going to generate more local revenues in property tax collections. Our delinquents, I'm going to keep the same. Those are running right in line where they should be. I'm going to lower the penalties and interest line for this year, for 26-27 compared to this year, because the property taxes continue to get compressed over the last few years. Those penalties and interest, if people in the homestead exemptions are going up penalties and interest are calculating it less if they are imposed on people. So I don't think we'll quite get to that 300,000 on the 25-26 year. We'll get close, but I'm going to go ahead and lower that for this coming year at 240,000. We have our Region 7 Head Start reimbursements. That's going to be the same. It's the same structure for the coming year. Our district transfers are already at this point for 25-26 at 83,000. So I'm going to keep that the same so that I feel like that one's in line where we need to be. I'm going to propose again to keep our interest and investment income at $2 million like it has been, to keep that hedge there, because interest rates at some point will go down. It's not what I heard Wednesday at my conference was if they go down, most likely it will be in the spring, but could be November, December, but most likely will not be to the spring until the spring at this point. Of course, that's all opinion and conjecture, but it kind of held that way this year. They did not go down as much as they had anticipated. Our athletic gate receipts will hold steady at that amount, and as well as our local revenue. I'm going to keep. We usually always keep it at 100,000. That's typically in that range where it falls. So I'm going to keep that the same. So this line right here, the big one, the virtual school revenue, we talked about it briefly for the 25-26 year just a minute ago. This year, we're seeing it. It's the 8%, and this will include 16.7 million based off the oversight fee. It's calculated on as if they were to finish the year at just shy of 17,000 ADA, which most likely they will finish about 22,000 for 26-27, depending on the enrollment cap that's agreed upon, though. But if that at the 16.9, it would generate 16.7 million, and then another 2.2 million for payroll reimbursement, and that gets us to the 19 million here. So that would be an increase over our current budget. We already know we're going to blow out, go over that budget in revenues for this year too. So we'll still maintain, even though it's an increase in revenue, it's still a conservative estimate based on an increase in enrollment. Let's see. So that's local revenues. I'm going to move on to state revenues. We've talked a little bit about our available school fund and our foundation school fund. We're going to have lines split up between brick and mortar and virtual. Our proposed budget, I don't know if y'all remember, if I try to say this every year, but on available school, that is a per capita rate that they're applying to the prior year's ADA to get these numbers. Each year, that per capita rate varies because one year it's higher, the next year it's lower, and when it's lower, that's the year that the IMA, the textbook fund, gets funded, and so which is in a different fund, but it's still a state fund. So this is the year that the IMA fund was funded last year. It's always funded the first year of a biennium, and so we see a higher per capita rate. So we're going to see increases in our available school fund pieces of state funding for both virtual school and brick and mortar. So that is the reason for those increases. And like we talked about on the previous slide here, we saw about a $2.9 million increase in current property tax collections due to an increase in values. Here you'll see that for brick and mortar, we have a decrease. If you add it, these are all the FSP lines. If you add all those up, that's about, I don't know, 2.75 million, somewhere around in there. So you'll see it's pretty close offset. It's not exact, but it's a pretty close offset, and we see that we will have less state revenues because we have higher tax. But overall, it's about level, which may also make sense because it's the second year of a biennium. We should have very similar funding overall for the 2 years in the same biennium. Foundation school for virtual will go up if with an assumption of an increase in enrollment. So that's another factor that, with virtual, if we're increasing our enrollment cap, we're going to generate more funding anyway. So that one for brick and mortar, for virtual, we're basing the 26-27, and this one we assume we want to get as close as we can to what it will actually be, but it's okay because we have an exact offset down in expenses because we pay out what they generate. So we want to budget what we expect to generate for this line of revenue. And so for 26, 27, I'm projecting that we will finish at 22,135 ADA, which is about 80% of 27.5 cap. And that's about the same percentage that we finished compared to our current cap this year for 25, 26. So there's a pretty big increase if we go up to 27.5. Let's see. We have our small little federal revenue for the general fund and E-rate related to our cable contract, so that's 34.2, and that will remain unchanged. So I have here that we can expect our revenues to increase overall by 1.95 million on the brick and mortar side, and that is primarily due to an increase in oversight revenue with an increase in enrollment cap. And our TIVA sources would have an increase of 39.3 million, which most of that is 100% offset by an expenditure budget as well. I know I went through that really fast. Any questions or any things you want me to look at or other things to consider with this? Yes, exactly. If we have 39 million in TIVA sourced revenues, then yes, there'll be an increase in expenditures of 39. Yes. Unchanged, it would go up to 144 for the employee portion. Yeah, the 25, 26, the 100 is for our current year. But this assumes staying the same. So if we, yeah. Yeah, sure, absolutely. Sure. And that's easy to calculate what an additional cost that will be as well. So, yeah, absolutely. I can put some other options in there. There's last two pages, and I may just let y'all look at them yourself, but they're related to our INS. The only thing I wanted to really point out, and I have already emailed to get information from our bond counsel as well as on this, so that we do not continue to accumulate fund balance, because it kind of just gradually grows over the years. Back in 22, 23, we made a defeasance payment, an additional principal payment on our bonds of 3.3 million. And I was looking if we want to try to keep we can only pass a tax rate that covers our debt payments. So if we want to keep our 9.5 cent INS rate level, that would allow us to make about a $2 million. And this all is back to hinging on our preliminary values. Once we have certified, all of these will be baked in numbers. But we could do about a $2 million additional principal payment on our bond, which would take a resolution in August before we pass bond and tax rate. But I just wanted to let you know I'm looking and getting information about that, if y'all feel strongly about that. Right, or we would be required to lower our tax payment by about 4.5 cents to get it back down about, yeah. Right, it's a good thing to pay down, right, yeah. But there is a transparency piece to it. Is a tax rate specific for our debt service, so it's a taxpayer's tax rate, so I don't want to make sure that we're transparent about what it's generating, but it can only be used for debt service, so. Right. Yeah, and it's because, and Jen, I wanted to tell you as well, we generate the state funding piece, this $5.3 million. It's a state funding it's called an existing debt allotment. And so we have to try to estimate what that will be each year. And when we have enrollment increases in our virtual program, that generates more. And so when we make those in mid-year, well, that's how this fund starts generating extra fund balance, because we can only spend it on our bonds, and those are already set. So I always want to look at this every few years, and, you know, if we can make a sizable, because there's bond fees connected to it too, but want to try to do a sizable payment if we can. There's small, to the issuer fees and all those things, yeah. Yes, absolutely, 100%. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of put that out in front of you. And this is an overview, kind of summarize this same page, but in the same format of our general fund. I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Matt, if that's okay. Any questions? Good. Thank y'all.
Good evening, Mr. Nelson and school board members. Mr. Martin? Did everybody get a sheet kind of outlining kind of a statement of our budget, first round budget meeting? Y'all should have had
Looks something like that. Yes, sir. Yeah, it probably was, yeah.
I didn't want to read it if you already got it and just kind of save some time. Budget's looking pretty hefty so far. There's quite a few things that we are going to look at doing. One of the biggest things that I wanted to point out and have a conversation with, so we can have some time to talk about it here in the next couple of months, is a big update at East Elementary regarding the chiller system. I always like thinking outside the box as far as, you know, was the chiller system the best idea from the very beginning? Is there something better, more user-friendly that we can put in to maintain or make our job easier? I've talked to several different contractors. I've talked to different school districts in the DFW area that's gotten away from a chiller system. And after talking to several different people and, you know, that are smarter than me, it's probably best we just stay with the chiller system. It's already in place, it works, but it's time to do some updates to it. It's the original to the building. Some of the components have been changed out over the years, but, you know, all the fan coils, all the air handlers, they're all pretty much original to the building. One of the chillers has been replaced, and so we're looking at maybe just doing one. But ultimately, long story short, is I actually reached out to Store Services. They've been actually helping us do some repairs and updates and things over there, and actually asked them to kind of do an assessment of the system and kind of where we're at and kind of the health of the system. Well, they actually brought in Texas Air Systems, which is, it's a big company kind of based out of Dallas. They actually have a branch here in Longview that sells parts. And he came in and kind of spent some time looking and kind of just evaluating what we had. And he actually came up with what he recommends doing. And that plan was to replace one of the two chillers. One of them is 17 years old. That's the one we're looking at doing. The other one is 8 years old. Replace the air handlers, fan coils, fan blowers. To my knowledge, these are all original to the building. There's 74 of these total. Replace the water pumps. Those are the ones that circulate, you know, hot and cold water through the building. And then replace the boilers. Those are what heats the water up to circulate, to heat, you know, the building. That was his recommendation. I asked for a budgetary number, what a full upgrade looks like, and it's about $2,095,500. It's a lot of money. I mean, I'm budgeting, I'm asking, for $500,000 to upgrade, your normal air conditioner systems, across campuses. So with this type of update, of course, we got options. We can try to do it all in one cycle. We can try to split it up in half. If we split it in half, it would kind of make our job easier, because we're not focusing on the project as a whole. Some of those components are easy to change out. It's, hey, we're going to change out these pumps. Here they are. Give me a price. Here's the scope of work. With the fan coils and the air handlers, those are all up in the ceiling. There's only about 7 or 8 of them. They're actually in a closet somewhere where you can actually walk up to and look at. Otherwise, they're in the classroom up in the ceiling. So there's quite a bit of data we'd have to get, model numbers, serial numbers, to kind of create that good scope of work. And Ms. Brown actually had a good suggestion, and this is something we need to talk to you guys about to see if this is an option, would be to get like Joe Hart involved and get their MEP involved to look over, do the same assessment, and pretty much do all the legwork for us, create that scope of work, create this is what we're going to replace, and send that out for sealed bid, and the cheapest person get it. Now, some of that, yes, would make our job easier, but there's, $100,000 cost to that. So is it worth spending that kind of money? I mean, I guess it's depending who you ask. It would make our job a lot easier because I don't have to sit there and create that scope of work and make sure I don't miss anything and make sure that each contractor's bidding on the same thing. So it kind of takes some of the guesswork out for us. But on top of that, we're spending extra money for that. If we cut the project in half, we can focus on the main components, which are the air handlers. Those are the main thing that's cooling the building. Yes, sir.
You said this system is original to the building. $2 million, $2.1 million.
Yes, yes, sir.
Over 17 years, if we switch to another system, because this is big at one time, versus, you got a unit out here, you got one classroom out.
Mm-hmm.
This system goes out, whole building's out pretty much.
Yeah.
And I want to use it to the day before it goes out. Type deal. But
Sure.
I want to, I would like to know what the alternative is, or is there a reasonable alternative to go to? So we're going to have one system to control the whole building.
So the answer to that is yes. Reasonable is we still have to get an MEP engineer involved to tell us what the powering looks like. The building, of course, design was a chiller, so you don't have the power capacity there to install and run a split system. The building's not designed to put a rooftop unit on top of the roof, so you can't do it there. We thought of that option. That's the first thing I thought of was, man, let's get rid of the chiller and just put split systems in every one of the classrooms. Would it be kind of ugly? Yes, because they're going to be on the side of the building. But you can build fences. You can do things to, make it a little more attractive. But you would still have to get that engineer involved for what does power look like, and then what does the actual air conditioner look like.
Evaluate the option before we go spend $2.1 million on
Sure, Sure. You know,
That goes down, we're sending kids home for that.
well, the good thing about it is, as I believe, just in conversations I had with, some engineers and some of our technicians that come to work on it, the system, I think, was built not on the ragged edge, but kind of, there's some buffer there. I mean, you do have two chillers. They're designed to run together or separately. Like, one comes on and chills. On today like today, they're both going to run. So if one did go out, yes, we have a problem. You could rent one until you get this one ordered and fixed. Rental's kind of high, but, if a chiller goes out, you just don't call the company, hey, bring me a chiller to replace it. They have to order that. I think they kind of build them per spec. Um, I'm trying to get ahead of. I mean, ever since I've got this building's kind of had a smell, kind of had a mildew, musty, stinky. And not until last year, summer just started. Yeah. So, I mean, you're dealing with water, you're dealing with moisture, you're dealing with. I don't think so. I think some of the problem is just it wasn't maintained over the years. The normal maintenance wasn't done over the years to it. I believe that will correct the problem. Yeah. So. No, you would replace all the existing stuff. If we decide to stay as is, you would replace one unit for one unit. Is that what you're asking? Yeah. Yeah. Well, I said 17 years because that's when, but the chillers have been replaced over time because this building was commissioned in 2000. So we're actually going on 27 years of equipment that's original. And according to Texas Air, I mean, he said most of the stuff was end of life. I mean, I don't know. I don't have that spec to say how long that fan coil was supposed to last, but the units now we're trying to replace after 15 years because that's the estimated time of a unit lasting. So.
I have a question, so of this 2 million, just like roughly, I know this is just out there, how much of it is labor and how much of it is parts? Because if you're talking about doing it in halves, like if there's a lot of labor intensive work and they're already in there doing that, I don't wanna have to come back in a year.
Yeah.
Extensive more labor to figure out just to access the systems for this.
Yeah, the estimate I got is a total, and that's a heavy estimate. It's a budgetary number. So that number, the actual cost should come in under what we're budgeting because they get a number, then they pad it really good because, the price is gonna go up next month. The price I have is not broke down labor and material. I would think, just based on everything that you see, when you get an estimate, half of it's labor, half of it's material, roughly.
To replace half of it, and then a year later, or however long later, we've got another half of labor to into it.
Sure. So my proposal, or kind of what I had kind of broke down, and I don't think I shared this with y'all. If we wanted to break it down into 2 cycles, the first cycle would be $1.3 million, and that would be to change all the fan coils, air handlers. Those are the main, like I said, the main thing that's distributing the air. The other parts, they're working. There's, chiller pump, you have 2 chiller pumps, and they're both working, but if one goes down, you're still circulating now. Changing that pump out is a lot easier than changing out, you know, the big chiller system, so. It would definitely be, any break we get work.
My recommendation is that we get with our engineers, have them evaluate the current system. Is that the best option to go with? Is this a secondary option? What would an estimated cost be? And then make a decision based on those two numbers. And then go make a decision.
Sure.
And then if they say go with the current chiller, they can do all the scope of work. They got all collected all the data. If they say go with the other system, they got the data collected as well with that.
I think I mean, I like the idea just because it takes a lot of the guess. I mean, I'm not an AC specialist. I know enough to be dangerous. I know enough to, you know, make a decision, but something like this, you know, we don't want to get wrong. I don't want to come back to you in a year and say, hey, Mr. Nelson, I messed up. We missed hundreds of $1,000s worth of equipment because we just,
You're doing it right, man. You're looking at less than 5%. You said, they're charging $100,000.
that was the estimated cost. I actually sidebarred with Joe Hart last week and just asked him, hey, is this something that you guys could get involved in and do? And he said, absolutely. I even talked to the MVP. We got a call and talked, and he's actually getting the prints for East Elementary to look them over, just to kind of, I think, you know, as a buddy system, kind of giving us some ideas of what we're looking at, so.
And I'm sure the other options there, with Jason, if we make a vote, I'm afraid that's gonna be $3.5 million. But it's an option to look at, because going further might be easier, but.
You know,
It's gotta be, that's what I'm looking at, all the maintenance on the front end, running everything, every class.
yeah,
When you're looking at 50 units maybe.
no, there's 74 air handlers in that building. Yeah, sure. So we definitely want to get with Joe Hart and put it in his wheelhouse. Okay. So I guess we need to budget a number for Joe Hart to get involved, and then I guess we'll talk about that later. That way we can cover there, and then if it takes 3 months for them to come up with a plan to go forward, we can, okay. All righty. Y'all should have a list of everything that I started putting together. Same format as last year. There's budgeted projects that are over 50,000 that require your approval, and then there's the ones that are 50 and under. I didn't know if you guys had time to look through those. I know we got a few minutes, probably need to wrap up, but if there's any that you look at, stick out, that you want to have a conversation right quick, ma'am? I actually did some updates to it today, so what I'm actually looking at is actually not updated to what you're looking at, but by next or July's workshop, it'll be probably some more added to it. There's probably not too much more that we need to add.
When was the last time it was resurfaced? 4 or 5 years
4 or 5 years
ago?
ago, I think is what Cody said, yeah. So, and there's a couple of things up there that don't have, like Coliseum paint. I'm just trying to get together with our contractor to give me an estimate on that. There's probably 1 or 2 more things on there that need to be updated.
I would just mention that covered practice facilities in the work, architects have all the plans to begin that, but it's not in this list.
Yeah, I think those made the list last year, and we'll get those added in. In fact, we probably need to go over all of the projects that we're looking at doing to put a dollar amount in there.
That's where we started, where the architect started the process for that spot.
Yeah.
I just am interested to see what the cost would be, because covering that existing track field, it's one less field to maintain, but I also understand if you are putting hanging iron on top of it, cranes and all that kind of stuff, you're gonna tear it up, you're gonna be able to replace it, and maybe, and I mean, matted and all that other stuff. That's the issue.
The other thing I always thought about, when we talked about that,
I would like to
it's
know
like
what
in
the
the
cost.
rain, walkway down there. That, we turned it into,
Right, in the parking lot, when it rains.
I understand that they're not under our,
What else you got?
That's it.
On these projects,
Um,
let's start off with this one, let's do 5% reduction, all the other,
Well, I was gonna say that if we decide to do the East Elementary chiller update as a whole, the line above it, the chiller valve upgrade, we can actually eliminate that because the equipment we will get will have the new valves with them. That chiller valve update is, you got your fan coil, there's water circulating, that valve opens and closes to allow hot water, cold water, whatever the situation is. All those, again, originals of the building, they're rusted, corroded, they're, we're constantly having to go by there and manipulate them to get them open or closed manually or whatever, so, we did upstairs last year, we gotta do downstairs this year, so we were trying to break that project up a little bit.
but that would be, but if you did upgrade, that full chiller upgrade to too big, you would have to worry about $135.
Yes, yes. Or if we did phase one of the chiller update, which would include that scope of work, we could pull that dollar out. But I wanted to put both of them in there in case we chose not to do this one, we could at least cover ourselves with that one. It's not an immediate need. I mean, there's a few that we have fixed on demand. I mean, honestly, we contract those out because they got all the tools and necessary equipment to do it. I mean, by the time we get in there and try to do one, I mean, it's just cheaper to have them do it, so. Just, if y'all don't mind, look over the sheet, and if y'all have any questions between now and then, holler at me, let me know. And if y'all see something or know of something around the district that, y'all been eyeballing or know of something, don't hesitate to bring it to my attention. We'll get it added and definitely, put attention to it, so. All right, appreciate y'all.
Sometimes. D1 feet and a D3 body.
All right, we're running a little late, but it's 6:35. We do have a quorum of board members present. We will rise for our invocation, followed by our pledge of allegiance. You rise. Mr. Palmer, do you mind leading us in prayer?
Lord, we come to you this evening, we just want to ask that you watch over us, guide us, make us make decisions that would honor you, that we keep the children and the families in this community in the forefront of our thoughts and decisions. Ask that you pray over all the kids and teachers and staff as they enjoy their summer and travels and vacations, but leave them back here safe in August. And we ask all these things in your son's holy name, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May you be seated. First item is our Bobcat Pride and Recognition, our honorees, Mr. Martin.
Yes, sir. Our UIL state meet contenders, our participants, are pretty much out of town, so they're not going to be here tonight. So they're probably doing a lot of smart stuff somewhere else. So we're going to push those to the next couple of months. We'll get them here to recognize them soon.
No one has requested to speak in open forum, so we'll move on to our consent items. We've got our May regular board meeting minutes, the May balance sheet for the general fund, financial statement for general fund, our quarterly investment report. We've got a donation of $16,206.99 from our ag department to purchase a cattle trailer. And we've got a budget amendment 2026-7, budget amendment 2026-8. We've got our continuation of legal service retainer agreement with Ackelbaum Wardell. Annual designation of HCAD as preparer of truth and taxation worksheets and notice. 2026-27 Region 7 Annual Services Contract. 26-27 Enterprise Fleet Management Annual Lease Plan. Vendors over 50,000, Rethink Ed, Vizzle for SPED, student engagement. We've got the TIVA waivers for consideration for 26-27, approval of Children's Internet Protection Act and Hallsville ISD's acceptable use policy, 23 through 28 District of Innovation Plan Amendment. Any of those items that board members would like to pull and discuss? See, no questions. We may have a motion to approve our consent items. Okay, we have a motion from Ms. Jen to approve. You have a second? Second by Mr. Haney. Comments or questions? All in favor? 7-4, none opposed. Next, we got our information items, our check register, the enrollment by grade level. Policy update 127 on the 30-day read. We've got policy update, or policy FDA local 30-day read. Any of those need to be discussed or anything, John?
No, sir, unless you guys want to see enrollment numbers, if you haven't already seen them.
I looked at them, I did have a question, and I feel like I remember this being discussed at a previous board meeting, but the difference in West versus the other two elementary schools, what is the plan, like the long-term plan for the difference?
So for the second year in a row, during registration at West, any new to the district kids that are in that zone, we're trying to push those over to one of the other two. And so we're trying not to separate siblings, obviously the ones we've already got here to stay. We're trying to look at our ED kids, we're bilingual, see if there's some of those we can push over just to try to level that down. Because it's about 140 programs.
Yeah, so we say, trying to push it through, is that a situation where you have a conversation like, hey, you get the older children, that the high school is, I would make senior year, is that kind of more?
It is, but we also have shuttle service that comes out of West and comes over here.
Yeah.
So theoretically, they could drop at West, get on the shuttle and come to North or East or whatever. That's kind of what we put that together for.
But I'm guessing you still, at the end of the day, we gotta look it up to the parents if they're in that area, but it's just a conversation we have to see.
By policy, we can dictate whether it's standard 17.
If they're first time in the district, they don't have any siblings at West, we can push them to the other campuses.
The brand new ones to the district with no siblings, that are already at West, we got the siblings, we need to go north, like I told you, where to go. Like I say, we will provide the shuttle service, if they come into her, and then they can pick up at West.
All right. Next, we've got our first agenda item is consider the approval of the 26-27 fuel vendor contract. Ms. Brown?
Good evening. Back on June the 11th, I received our quote from Mansfield Oil for our 26-27 fixed price oil contract. And when that quote came in, she always, every year, she says, I'll send you an updated quote because it's based on market fluctuation, is obviously. And she said, I'll send it to you the afternoon of the board meeting, so I have received that. So I have updated numbers even as of this afternoon for this, which they have improved. On June the 11th, the rate that was going to be proposed for gasoline was almost $3.05 a gallon, and this afternoon's rate was $2.90. Which is just it's a 32.13 cent increase over what we're currently paying for 25-26, which goes through August 31st. Yes. That's the gasoline portion.
$2.90?
$2.90. And then our diesel, first quote had come in at $3 and almost 66 cents, and as of this afternoon, $3.3688. So much more improved. Still a 47.4 cent increase. She did say when she sends this, and this is, boilerplate language, that based on market, volatility, the sooner we lock in, the better, because they have the right, even if we've voted to approve a rate and we don't let them know, they could choose to not accept that and not lock in. Because of, they have extreme, volatility as well. So I had asked Mr. Martin if we needed to, consider doing this like next month and see what happened with all the whatever going on in the world. But based on this, it looks like there is improvement from what we received initially. So if y'all want to lock in this month, we can certainly do that with these rates, and I can let her know immediately.
Well, that's the thing, is we roll the dice, or we expect it to go down in another month, or it goes back up.
Well, and I will say that this system, we've used this type fixed rate methodology and way of paying for quite some time. There are districts out there that have been really hurting because, we're all the way through August, we're still paying, $2.89 and $2.58 for gas. So we're doing just fine. Our budgets, a lot of districts are hurting.
And Mr.
Yeah.
Presley has been instructed to fill it up as much as we can wherever we're
Before
at.
August 31st.
Either way. But do we have a motion to approve, or do we want to table it, take a risk?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Crafton to approve the quoted price at $2.90 for regular fuel and
$3.3688
for diesel. Okay, we have a motion we have a second. Mr. Goswick, comments or questions? All in favor? 7-4, none opposed.
Awesome.
Thank you, ma'am.
As soon as I sit down, I'll let her know.
Consider the approval of,
8 of the past 11 years, and it's always worked out, so
Yeah.
I trust locking it in, because I think it's gonna go back up. I think within the next 30 days, diesel as well, but they kind of go hand in hand, they're both going back up.
And I kind of gathered, especially, that's why they put that other disclaimer as well in this time of volatility.
next we consider the approval of the 25-26 Stride K-12 spring estimate payment.
Yes, we've already paid the fall estimate back in March. So in the summer, we do a spring estimate. It's conservative, so we still will have a settle up once we have final and certified numbers from TEA in September and October. This estimate will estimate total funding for 25-26 for the Tiva campus at $214,770,487.69. Of that amount, the 8% oversight fee is deducted of a little over $17.1 million, less the March payment of $44,369,000 that we've already paid, to arrive at $153,219,693.39. And then to be ultra conservative in our contract, we only release 90% of that amount. So tonight, we're requesting that approval to release $137,897,724.05. And just for your information on the 25-26 year, based on the final PEMS, that $214,000 number, that estimated number, the actual is $220 million. So they actually did exceed the ADA count that he used these numbers to estimate on, to send to us for approval. So this is conservative, so we're not overpaying them. So I definitely wanted to point that out, that we'll still have that settle up in the end, but it'll be much smaller, so that's good.
Let's table that.
Yeah, 30 days, just 30 days. We might get a phone call from Dave Drew on that one.
If nobody has questions, I'll make a motion to approve that.
Okay, we have a motion for Mr. Crafton to approve the payment. We have a second. Motion fails for lack of second. Give you a second. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. O'Pry. Any other comments or questions? All in favor? 7-4, none opposed. Next item we have is to consider the approval of vendor over 50, Stride K-12 for their expense reimbursement.
Yes, this relates to our federal grant reimbursement for their services that are eligible to be coded to that grant. This last month, I believe we brought through February. We've received March and April, as well as an October 2025 credit invoice related to some personnel that were working testing sites for several different campuses, and so they prorated those amounts off. That did not relate to TIVA students. So for March, April, and October 2025 credit, we're recommending the approval of $471,301.05 to be paid from Title I grant funds to Stride K-12.
All right, we have a recommendation from administration to approve Stride K-12 Title I expense reimbursement. We have a motion to approve. Okay, motion by Dale. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Ainsworth. Comments or questions? All in favor? 7-4, none opposed.
Thank you all very much.
All right, next we have to consider the approval of IXL curriculum material. Welcome to the
Thank
podium, Ms.
you. Good evening. I'm here to ask for the approval of purchasing the IXL supplemental material in the amount of $92,550. So IXL is a separate program from iReady. So we've been using iReady since COVID to provide our screeners in reading and math, and then also to provide that accelerated instruction that's required for House Bill hours. This year, I don't know if you've heard, iReady has a lawsuit that has been brought up for collecting student data and giving that to third-party companies out of California. So we've been going back and forth, weighing the pros and cons of staying with them or going with IXL. We are recommending IXL. It is actually going to be K through 8. It will provide the screeners for reading and math. It will provide the personalized pathways, just like iReady did in reading and math for the supplemental hours that we need. But it also has supplemental material K through 8 for all content areas. So we're actually getting a little bit extra. And if you look at the price, it is a much better price than iReady was. So we're asking for the approval of $92,550 for IXL. I don't know.
All right, we have a recommendation from administration. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Second, Mr. Ainsworth. Any other questions, comments?
I have a question. So, what will the switchover be like from iReady to this?
So we're onboarding all staff, so they will roster all of our kids for us before staff even get here. And then it's a 1-hour professional development. It's virtual. So I've gotten multiple times from multiple campuses to join during our August PD days. And within that hour, teachers should be up and rolling with their classes, ready to give those screeners by the time kids get here.
Okay, and does it carry the same weight as already for like advanced placement classes or advanced classes? When you're getting put into advanced math or advanced reading, do your already scores have to be a certain score? Will you have that same with the ISL?
Getting into those advanced classes, starting in like advanced math in 6th grade, it's based on how you perform on STAR, not necessarily iReady. So iReady is just the supplemental material to what we already teach.
Okay, any other questions, comments? We have a motion and a second. All in favor? 7-4, none opposed.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, that concludes our action items. The department reports are next. Anybody want to pull any one of the department reports? I will mention the TIBA report. It had a little bit snippet of graduation. Ms. O'Pry and I was able to be there along with a lot of our administrators, and it was very, very good this year. So, any other department reports? No? All right. It is 6:51. We'll take a brief recess and go into executive.
talk about, you gonna be around tomorrow? Yep. We'll talk about tomorrow. Kingsley's my little daughter, she's awesome, man. So, and Kinsler's sweet and fine. Yep. Same dynamic with Guy and Kingsley. It seemed like a Thursday, hey, let's meet next Tuesday. And all weekend. All weekend, it seemed like, what happened, what happened? There's no, subject, but I always, the only solace that I find in all that is like, dude, it's real bad, you can sit right now. He's come to my back door before. he probably kills these mics, cause
They're not gonna use the mics anymore.